CDPR can't keep getting away with this. They've just put out another new patch for Cyberpunk 2077 that added new content, even though they've explicitly said twice now, I think, that they're not adding new content. So let's see what they've added. So let me know in the comments if you're jumping back into Cyberpunk for this new patch, and should you? Maybe, it depends. If you're already playing Cyberpunk right now, it's probably some good changes, but if you're not actively in the middle of a playthrough, it's probably not necessarily worth just jumping back in to check it out like 2.1 was. Overall, like across the board really, this is mostly a bug fixing and a quality of life patch with a couple of teeny little things in there. Some of those bug fixes are big ones like the melee finishes that are now actually working properly. There is a ton of car balance changes and fixes and new features for cars as well. The radio ports went through a bit of a quality of life change as well. Cyberware capacity been updated, so the cap now is for 50 and you can't actually exceed that cap. And the axolotl cyberware will also now reduce the cooldown when neutralizing an enemy non-lethally rather than just lethally. As soon as you max out all of your skill points now, you will no longer get skill shards dropped from enemies, so you won't have to worry about that. It'll just clean up some of the pickups a little bit. There's also a new legendary mod that you can get from completing Regina's Cyber Psycho gigs. If you complete all of those and go chat to Regina in the chest there, you'll be able to get a legendary version of the Pax weapon mod, which will turn a weapon into non-lethal, but it also gives you a 20% damage bonus when out of combat. Really good to put on like a sniper rifle or something like that where you're attacking from out of combat. Even if you've already finished Regina's quest line, you can actually go and grab this from the chest near her. It should be there on those save files. And for PC users, they have made some changes to the AMD RX Vega GPUs. They should see better performance, as well as adding a hybrid CPU utilization setting. Exactly what that does, I don't know. You're gonna have to talk to someone smarter than me, but it may fix things for some issues with some CPUs. We'll have to see. But let's get into some of the actual details of some of these major changes. Like the car changes is probably the main one. So general like fixes wise, they've adjusted the car chases. They won't occur as frequently now, and they also won't overlap. They've also adjusted the suspension movement of some vehicles that are in traffic, so they look a little bit better. Motorcycle suspension has also been improved, so you won't clip through the road and curbs anymore, as well as the braking has been improved on some vehicles, including cars and trucks. They'll now handle better on like big jumps. There is also like a major update to handling of a lot of cars, so you can now brake and accelerate at the same time much easier, and it just like controls a little bit better, as well as drifting went through some changes and fixes as well. So there's been a lot of different like tiny little changes to cars and just overall handling, and they do feel a lot better, especially when you're sort of drifting around corners. I've noticed you don't sort of like lose control of the vehicle as much anymore. But the big change with the cars is you can change the color of your cars, except you can only do it with Rayfield cars. So now Rayfield cars can have their colors changed. There is only 2 cars in this category, but it's called the Crystal Coat feature. And essentially when you're in a Rayfield car, you can press a certain button that will bring up this like hue wheel where you can actually just change the colors of the car. And you can change the inner and the outer color, which will like change the 2 colors of the vehicle. Weirdly enough, this is only while you're in the car. So when you get in the car, if you've changed the color of that car previously, it'll like go through like that little effect and it'll change back to the color that you'd previously set it to, but it doesn't stay when you're not in the car. That's a really weird decision. Seems to me like that's some sort of like engine thing is the reason why that happens that way, because why would you do it that way? Like why not just keep the color that you've changed it to? It's also odd it's only the Rayfield cars. They say in the patch notes that it's because this technology was developed exclusively by Rayfield. So it's currently only available for Rayfield vehicles you own, which seems to me like it's just sort of like they're testing this feature. Like maybe they'll add it to other vehicles, or like they'll have an in-law, like in-world reason to be like, oh, now, you know, this technology is being used by all the other car developers or something like that. And I'm sure like something like that'll happen. Maybe not in Cyberpunk 2077, definitely in Cyberpunk 2.0 or Orion, whatever it's going to end up being, which if you're interested in learning more about that, I'll link that video here if you want to learn more about what's happening with Orion. But there was more changes as well, specifically to the radio ports. So in the gameplay settings now, you've got 3 new options here that you can change the way that the new radio port feature that was added with 2.1 actually works. First is the sync to vehicle radio, so you can keep the music playing after exiting the vehicle. So the vehicle music and your personal music will be exactly the same. You can also change the cycle stations with button press. So previously, before this patch in 2.1, when you press the radio button, it would just like start and stop the radio. But now if you enable this option, it'll actually change the radio station, which is much nicer option. Like I definitely have enabled this and just been like flicking through the radio stations when a song comes on that I don't like. And the last one is the save current station, which will mean that whenever you load a previous save, that radio station will just automatically start playing regardless of where you are, because it will save that to your actual save file. Another new addition is an iconic update, I guess. Like it's not new iconics, it's just fixed a bug that the buzzsaw and the SARM 11.6 has also been fixed, so you'll actually now be able to craft these when you've completed the relevant NCPD missions. Previously, these crafting specs just like wouldn't show in your crafting like specs list for some reason, which was just like a bug even though you had them, but now they will actually show up. So if you've gone and done these, the SARM's probably the main one. Like the buzzsaw's a little bit less of a rare weapon, but the SARM, if you go to this location, complete the NCPD mission here, you'll be able to get the SARM crafting spec and craft this weapon, which does apply burning to all enemies, and it's a pretty decent assault rifle as well that is pretty solid, so it's probably worth going to do and using this weapon if you do want to actually like the camo look of it as well. In terms of other fixes, most of them are just like mainly bug fixes. I will flash up some of them on your screen here so you can sort of have a bit of a pause of the video or flick through them, but the patch notes will also be linked in the comments if you just want to like read them as well. A couple of main ones that I'll point out for you guys just to think about here is that they have fixed an issue where health items could become unequipped from the quick access slot after using consumables. This happens sometimes in missions as well. Like if you have to give someone a healing item, sometimes it'll become unequipped for you. Skill shards, which we already mentioned, is another big one just to clean up those inventories when you're like looting things. The RAM cost for Cyberpsychosis Quick Hack will now properly decrease after applying cyberware malfunction or an EMP effect, which is a great one for the net runners out there. There's also a fix an issue with vehicles purchased at the AutoFixer website weren't being added to the owned vehicles list even though money was spent. I didn't actually realize this was a thing, but that sounds absolutely awful. Like if you've spent $1 million on the latest Rayfield so you can change the color of the car and it doesn't actually get added to your own vehicles, that absolutely would suck. This is a pretty solid amount of patch. Now, it's definitely not the last patch I think we're going to get for Cyberpunk, because there's still bugs. Like even just while getting footage for this video, I actually fell through the world, which was kind of funny. But you know, there's still bugs that are in Cyberpunk which will potentially not get resolved if they do move on to this other projects, which they have definitely moved on. We know for a fact that a lot of the Cyberware 2077 developers have moved on to The Witcher 4 and other projects, but will this actually be like the last patch? I feel like it's hard to say yes, considering they keep telling us that this is the last patch and they add a new one. So maybe this will be the last like major patch, but then we might also get, say, a hot fix to fix some of these like little niggling issues with this. So patch 2.11 might be our official last actual patch that adds content to the game. We may just get some hot fixes after that. But I'm very interested to know if we will get anything else. I feel like just personally, the game is pretty much complete now. Like there's nothing else that I think is glaring or that I would really like being added to the game. Like they've essentially ticked off every quality of life feature I could want. They've added the metro system and all the other benefits that came with update 2.0, which drastically changed the game, and like all the car combat stuff. Like they've done such an incredible job of keeping this game up to date. And I don't know if there's anything that's glaring that's missing. If you think there is, let me know in the comments. I'd be curious to know if you think there's something that they should definitely add before they move off this project. But thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.